Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Mobo from the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. So my task for today, I am going to explain about my research entitled Studying Gender Role, Attitudes, Women's Empowerment, and Gender Equality to Better Understand Gender Dynamics. For the first part of my research, let me discuss, of course, the introduction. So gender dynamics research is still an important field of study in the modern society since it is the deeply ingrained in the social, political, and economic systems. Gender equality, women's empowerment, and the changing nature of gender roles are topics that are receiving more and more scholarly attention. Understanding the many aspects of gender dynamics is essential for promoting inclusive and equitable societies as awareness and social norms change. So gender roles have uh, historically had a significant impact on people's behaviors, expectations, and opportunity since they are strongly embedded in the societal systems. These positions have come under investigation and criticism since they frequently maintain unequal power relations. Over the past century, the women's empowerment movement has gained steam and aims to remove obstacles that prevent women from exercising their agency, being independent, and participating in a variety of aspects of life. So the goal of achieving gender equality is to establish a society in which people of all genders have equal access to opportunities and treatment. So for the objectives of my study, here are the following questions. What influence have shaped gender role attitudes over time and how do they appear in modern society? Second, what are the main facets of women's empowerment and how do social, political, and economic situations interact with them? What obstacles still need to be overcome in order to achieve gender equality, especially in regards to the labor market, legal systems, and educational institutions? So the goal of this investigation or study is to not only understand the gender dynamics better, but also to offer insightful observations that encourage discussions, guide policy decisions, and motivate activities that led to a more inclusive and equitable future. So for the methods and the research design, this is to provide a thorough knowledge of gender dynamics. This study uses a mixed method research methodology. Qualitative methods will enable a deeper investigation of an individual experiences and perspective, while quantitative methods will be used for a large-scale data gathering and analysis. For the sampling strategy, on the part of the quantitative component, a heterogeneous cohort of individuals will be enlisted to guarantee representation across multiple demographic domains such as age, socioeconomic standing, and cultural heritage. So the management of the survey will aim for a sample size of at least 500 respondents to guarantee sufficient representation from various demographic groupings. Stratified random sampling will be utilized on this study. And then for the qualitative component, which is roughly 50 people will be involved in focus group discussion and in-depth interviews. People with a range of experience in gender roles, women's empowerment, and gender equality will be included in the sample. And the participants will be chosen by purposive sampling in order to ensure that they can offer rich, varied perspective on the study questions. For the data collection methods, of course, in the quantitative component, a standardized survey question will be constructed or will be developed, which will be incorporated, establishing the scales to measure gender role, attitudes, women's empowerment, and perceptions of gender equality. So this survey or study will be administered online and in persons, allowing for broad reach. For the qualitative component, this is to investigate personal experiences, attitudes, and beliefs on gender dynamics. Semi-structured interviews will be held. A small group discussions will give participants a forum to express and debate their viewpoints in a group environment. And on the variables and measures, on the part of the quantitative measures, measuring participants adhere to their traditional gender norms using validated measures like the BMM's sexual inventory, which includes social agency, engagement, and economic independency measures. measuring opinions on equality in a number of settings such as workplace and classroom and in the medical field. So for the qualitative variables, examining participants on how society has changed gender dynamics over time, delving into personal stories and lived experiences pertaining to gender roles, empowerment, and equality. For the data analysis, the survey response will be compiled using descriptive statistics. Regression analysis and correlational are examples of inferential statistics that are used to evaluate the relationship between variables. In order to find recurrent schemes and patterns in the qualitative data, thematic analysis will be employed. A more sophisticated comprehension of each unique narrative or study will be easier for by coding and categorization. And then for the ethical consideration, ethical guidelines will be followed in the study to guarantee participants' anonymity, informed consent, and confidentiality. We will apply for ethical approval and for appropriate institutional reviewer board. For the limitations, the findings, generalizability, participant self-reporting, and sample bias are examples of potential limitations in the end. These constraints will be recognized and discussed about. So the research uses a mixed method approach in order to provide a thorough and nuanced understanding of gender dynamics as well as to provide significant insight to academic scholarship and guide useful interventions for a more society. For the results and discussions, on the first part, influencing shaping gender role attitudes over time, according to one-way ANOVA test, there's a substantial general difference in the ideas of traditional gender norms. A millennial exhibit much worse adhere than Generation X and baby boomers, according to post hoc test. So in table 1 indicates significant generational change towards views that are less conformist to traditional gender roles. For the second part, facets of women's empowerment and their intersection with social, political, and economic situations, the Pearson correlation coefficient shows that view of gender equality and economic environment are strongly positive correlated. Okay? These are noteworthy associations between political empowerment and attitudes of gender equality as well as educational attainment. So this table demonstrates how several empowerment factors are interdependent and how they are correlated with views of general equality and educational attainment. For the next part, which is equality in the labor market, legal systems, and educational institutions, with 32.5% of individuals reporting encounters with discrimination, it is clear that employment discrimination is common. A gender wage gap of $0.82 to $1 implies ongoing inequalities in the economy. Although 68% of respondents believe that gender equality is achieved in the school, qualitative insights draw attention to ensure like this prejudice. The next part, toward the more inclusive and equitable future, observations and recommendation, of course, the most influential source is, according to me, scores and influential of advocacy, education, and in media representation, the perception of gender equality is education. There is a significant difference between the effects of advocacy and education according to paired sample t-test. So this table highlight how education has a significant impact on how people perceive gender equality. So for the conclusion, according to the survey, there has a significant generalization shift on the attitudes toward gender roles. Millennials in particular appear to adhere to traditional roles less than the older generations do. Three major factors come into play: the media representations, educational progress, and cultural changes. This change implies changing social mores on a heightened consciousness of issues confronting conventional gender roles. So perceptions of gender equality and educational attainment are substantially correlated and interconnected characteristics of economic and political empowerment. The results highlight of the complexity of women's empowerment and the necessity for comprehensive strategies that reduce economic inequality and increase political engagement. So according to this study or report, there are still issues with the labor market, such as gender pay disparity and workplace discrimination. Variations in legal frameworks highlight the necessity of strong and uniform laws to advance gender equality. Perceptions of gender equality are greatly influenced by lobbying, education, and media representation. So the most significant source turns out to be education. So the research or the study underscores the significance of continuous lobbying endeavors, comprehensive educational modifications, and media portrayal in cultivating a future that is both equal and inclusive. For the recommendations, enact and uphold laws that are gender sensitive in the workplace to combat discriminatory practices and close the gender wage gap, and then encourage the establishment of strong, uniform legal frameworks in all areas to guarantee gender parity in a range of fields. Then encourage workplace diversity programs to combat discrimination and foster welcome atmosphere. And then, of course, to close the gender pay gap, corporations should urge to carry out frequent pay equity audits and to openly rebuild their compensation structures. And then incorporate inclusive curricula that confront gender stereotypes and biases in the classroom. Then adopt laws that guarantee equitable access to opportunities and resources for education, promoting an atmosphere free from discrimination based on gender. And then work together with major organizations to advance varied and affirming portrayals of gender roles and the accomplishments of women, and then boost advocacy efforts to confront cultural practices that supports inequality and increase public understanding of the significance of gender equality. So that would be all. These are my references. I hope I was able to discuss my topic about studying gender roles of women's empowerment and gender equality to the better understanding of gender dynamics. So that would be all. Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me regarding my presented study. Thank you and have a good day, everyone.